Hello there, this is Big Benedict. We're playing Army of Two on Professional difficulty. It's the hardest difficulty available, and we're on Chapter 3 of 6. It's entitled Iraq. Well, I guess it's not really entitled that. That's why I'm not putting the titles in quotation marks, because titles are normally like a, like the Great Fiend Challenge or something along those lines, or the Drunken Skeleton boss fight, like that, something like that. I have a lot of things to talk about. I do want to talk about God of War 4, even though I have no inside information about it. I just wanted to talk about it. I also wanted to talk about other things, but I'm going to be sticking to the gameplay because I understand that that's the most important thing for people who are watching this. But I also understand there's other people who like to listen to me talk about other things, and I actually like to talk about other things, especially in really redundant games like this. But it doesn't really feel too redundant when you're playing, because I absolutely just really love these types of games. So I am going to give Salem all the aggro so that I could turn the focus off on myself here and then take care of this turret individual. So you saw that I shot him up near his head, so that means I could take him down more quickly. And you just have to get on him very quickly, or he will wheel around on you and you won't have access to him. That's worse than actually than getting damaged, in my opinion. Having to do it over, the whole conceit of building the aggro on your partner's behalf and stalking over to him. But yeah, I don't have any information about God of War 4 except speculation. I think that it's being directed by Cory Balrog, and I looked on his channel, and I always remember his name because Balrog was a character in Street Fighter 2, if I'm remembering correctly. But his Twitter page is kind of like mine. I have 30 followers. I don't really mind too much. I started Twitter not very long ago, and I didn't like it at first, but I really do like it a lot. I honestly don't use Facebook either. I don't even go on there to check my messages, so I'm really sorry about that. But it's some social network that I believe all the videos are being posted to Facebook, but I don't really know. But what I've been trying to do is to make my channel a little bit more transparent. Ninja Gaiden 2, the last guide, was a great example of that, because it was opening up for your viewing, for your guys' viewing, a different part of my personality, a side of my personality that's a lot less serious, more prone to swearing for sure, but somebody who bottom line still is trying to be serious about what he's doing, and having fun, but not having fun first, inordinately having fun, and then, not being serious, just disproportionately, I should say. So, anyway, we're in this base camp. This is the first checkpoint you're going to have, and it's just threading yourself through this first area here. There is an area to the left that you can go behind the houses. I've gone behind them from the opposite way, but I don't know if the tarpaulin next to the house where I go in a minute is something that prevents you from going behind the first house and flanking these enemies, but it's a very good idea to do that. But something really appeals to me about these types of games, and conversely, something just really repulses me about first-person games. I don't know. That's why a lot of games that are in first person, they look intriguing, but I have to draw the line somewhere where my tastes are concerned, because without the character on the screen, I feel like something huge is missing from the game. That's why. It's just like, why can't I? Where's my character? Why? It's just like, it feels to me like they didn't finish the game, and I know it's from a different perspective, but that's just how I feel. So we're almost. This is it's not too bad of an encounter. I mean, I didn't struggle with it too much. Yeah, on games like this, you can only talk about the situation so much. What I have to do on these encounters, though, is the really demanding ones, and the ones that I struggle with mightily, are going to have to be, those fights are going to have to be explained in depth and any minor ones that I'm pretty sure most people won't struggle on, I'll talk about other things, because I understand that people like, you know, a lot of in-depth commentary on my guides, because that's why they're subscribed. And I also realize that from time to time people do want to hear me talk about other things, because personally I also want to hear people talk about other things sometimes too, but only usually with games that I'm not games that I know I'm not going to play. But like Rhyme's Guide with Ninja Gaiden 2, I don't want to hear him talking about anything except the game, because he's such a master at that game. But anyway, I'm going to point out this edit up here, and I usually wouldn't do it, but right there, would you have noticed that edit? You might have, because his color changed, but that's the kind of precision editing that I do, and it's no different from a lot of the other editing that people do. But it's another one of those things where I'm trying to be a little bit more transparent with my channel and open up, you know, different sides of my personality. So we're going to go up here. You get a checkpoint right here, and there's two ingress points here, the ladder and also the stairs. And the first wave of enemies, it's not what you think. It's not jumping on the turret and firing, although I thought that at first when I first did this game. They're just going to be jumping over the wall here, and also coming from one of the tents over to the left. And I cannot not say what this reminds me of. I've been watching the Seraphim 17's Resident Evil 4 Professional No Damage run, and what he's done a lot of the times is stood at the top of these ladders and knifed all the people onto the ground from the top. And it's really funny to watch, and probably more fun to even do. And I fell into that routine over here, and it was just like perfect, just really synchronous kind of gameplay. And I didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize that this could be a tactic, because like your back is to the stairs, so it is a little dangerous. But I don't really know. They all seem to just come up on the stairs at the end, so it's a viable tactic. Maybe put your partner in aggro status. So that was a melee attack right there, although I'm not sure what happened to that animation. And I'm just gunning down everybody here, because this is my ladder. Nobody comes up my ladder. Nobody that wants to get away with it, that is. But that's just a little tongue-in-cheek humor. I try to, you know, when I do jokes, I know I'm not very funny, so I try to just use the dry humor that I have in normal life. I'm a very serious fellow, but I am prone to kind of exaggerated humor sometimes, and humor that is very dry. So anyway, I tried to shoot this guy in the dick, but his thigh was right in the way. But anyway, we won't get an achievement for anything like that, but we will get one for beating this game. Okay, so once that scenario is done, I just wanted to mention this before I forget. I got the PKM gun, which has a damage value all the way to the right if you upgrade it. You could also upgrade how long you can stay in overkill mode with the option of well, I was going to say something, but this part here, I don't think you can go into the dual shot. But what I was going to say was you can quote unquote pimp out your gun, and it gets more aggro that way. But I honestly don't like the look of the pimped out gun. It's just gold and it looks stupid, so I'm not going to give myself... Okay, there's my download. It's all finished. But in the description of these videos, I said I'm not, and I've said it before via talking, I'm not going to be upgrading, or excuse me, I'm not going to be using overpowered weapons. Now, when it comes to the primary weapon, which is the gun I'm using at the most, you know, for the most part of the game, whichever it happens to be, it's going to change, whether it's the SAW or the PKM. I think that's what it was called. If I have that gun and the damage is all the way to the right, I don't consider that overpowered. I consider that a very good gun, and particularly for this guide, which has these battles stretched out very long sometimes, because if you rush through them, you will get killed. It's as simple as that. I mean, you might survive here and there, getting lucky, but The only thing I mentioned about the overpowered gun is the special guns, like the rocket launchers and all those other really powerful guns, like the grenade launcher. I don't intend to use those, but like I said, I might. But I'm not going to be like in these situations. It's just not necessary. And I honestly don't see myself using the rocket launcher or the missile launcher at any point in this guide. So did you see that checkpoint we just got a couple of minutes ago? You don't get one for like 20 minutes, and there's a lot of fights. And I almost died at one point, and it was, I don't know. You just get into a really stubborn kind of attitude when you fall into a position of hardship. So up here you are going to run into a guy behind a machine gun. So what I would recommend is you could actually go to the extreme left and use a sniper rifle. Like the special weapon I have is just a sniper rifle, because you always want to have something like that. It's just very helpful. So there will be a guy behind the turret, and it's just kind of inconsistent to have some checkpoints close together and some that if you die you lose a hell of a lot of progress. And I don't particularly like that, to be honest, and it just seems like people weren't thinking properly when they made the checkpoints. So I just kill all the stragglers here. This gun here is making these fights go a little quicker. That's why I'm also equipping this gun. It has a long reload speed, or it takes a little bit longer to reload it, but it's a good trade-off if I could kill these guys a little faster. Because personally, I don't like. Why would I even want to use an underpowered gun, and why would I want to take forever to kill enemies that could be killed pretty quickly? I also have Body Armor 3 on, which you unlock after you clear the aircraft carrier level on your first campaign, and it's free. You just equip it. So I've had it since the beginning of this game. I suppose a purist would want to use the Body Armor 1 if they wanted to do it, but I'm not really a purist at this game. I'm just a new player to it. And it indeed would up the difficulty. But over here, I believe I try to get into see what's over here first of all, and then I decided to throw a grenade, but it just wasn't working. I think I might throw a grenade, but then he was at such an angle that I was able to hit him over here with a sniper rifle shot. So yeah, I got a PS4 about 3 months ago, and to be honest, I've barely used it. I bought Tomb Raider digitally, and I've never even played it. I regret that purchase, but that's all I've ever done with that console, aside from looking in the options and things like that. It's currently in my closet because I don't like to have it out on my desk when it could be collecting dust and depreciating. When there's actually some fucking games, I'll take it out of the closet. But for now, where is God of War 4? I know it's pretty early to expect something like that, but I mean, it should have been ready by 2015, and I don't think it's going to be ready until 2016. And some people think it's God of War 5, but it's not. It's God of War 4 because we're talking about numerical canon. We're not talking about the other games that are titled God of War : something else, like Chains of Olympus or Ghost of Sparta or Ascension. But we need to move away from this whole experience of a game. I mean, we need really fucking hard God of War games. Like, it needs to be as hard as God of War 3. And some people might say, well, that game is not nearly as hard as 1 or 2. I agree with that, but still, that game is fucking difficult on Chaos Mode. I mean, I watched people. I used a guide. I used Dan's guide from wikigameguides.com when he was still with their channel. And their channel seems to be falling apart these days. But the John I remember from wikigameguides.com was the same guy who showed me how to beat the Loom Chamber in God of War 2, and also the Theseus battle in God of War 2 on Titan difficulty. But it's one of those kind of vanquish situations where you can show somebody, but unless they have the skill level, they won't be able to do it. Same with God of War 3, I would say. Because that game is still pretty merciless. But God of War Ascension was ridiculous. I mean, the Trial of Archimedes, one fight is difficult. And also the boss fight. That's another guide I regret. I came back to God, I think last year sometime. Oh, I know last year, but I don't know what month it was or what season. Maybe it was around October, but I went back to that game, and it was essentially a no upgrade run. Essentially, but I don't remember what I did exactly. I think I upgraded half my life. I did. It was kind of a weird thing that I did. I upgraded all my life. I think I upgraded 3 of the 4 magics, and I kept the blades at like level 3 or something like that. So it was not a no upgrade run, obviously, but it was something that was challenging, and I could not beat that final boss on God of War Ascension with the limited amount of stuff that I had. So out of just sheer frustration, I just used the footage from my previous guide that I did in March of 2013, and I felt bad about that. But I'm not a no upgrade run player, but I was trying it. I essayed to beat it, but I failed. But I didn't fail when I play the game normally. I beat it when you could do the upgrades. So I thought there was a checkpoint up here, but no, there's not. And I would just as soon, even though it might sound kind of bizarre, I just want to be the one who is lifted up, and I want to shoot the enemies, because it is a little bit more dangerous. But I don't know. I just like to be in control. Oh, you do get a checkpoint here. I didn't even see that. But still, even this checkpoint, I did not see that. Wow. Okay. That's pretty fair then. I would say that's pretty decent. I didn't even see that one. And I was tentative as hell up here, thinking I had to do that previous fight all over again.
Let me help you up.
So what they did with God of War Ascension is they pretty much... It was as if they were afraid to make it too difficult, and that is very bad for gaming when it's like that. You know, when people are, they're worried that they're going to make it too hard. And then Adam goddamn Sessler made a video complaining about it, and the GameSpot and the IGN reviews were critical of that. And what's the guy's name? Jeff, the creative director. I don't remember his name. But I think he was kind of pressured into lowering the difficulty and recoding that sequence. And I was so mad at that. Because I kind of fell into the hype of it and the hyperbole of it, and I thought, this is kind of unfair. But it was just like mass hysteria back then. Like, everybody was talking about how hard it was. And like when I got there, it was pre-patch, and I died like 10 times, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, this is pretty unfair. But when I stood there and practiced it, and I finally beat it after maybe 20 tries or whatever, I said to myself, well, at least it didn't take me, it maybe took me like 3 hours to beat it, or a couple hours, but at least it didn't take me 2 or 3 days to beat it like it took me the Loom Chamber. And then again, the Loom Chamber, that might have been a week that it took me to beat that. It's so hard. But yes, we do need an experience, but we need a brutal experience with God of War 4. And we need a lot of changes. We don't need the magic pieces divided up into slots. I don't think anybody likes that. We need a decent new game plus, to where maybe you can deactivate the QuickTime events, but not bring all your inherited items into the new campaign. And we need when you're filled up with health and magic and you open a box, just like in Devil May Cry, they should give you red orbs to compensate for the... This is just a splendid idea that occurred to me, but I mean, it's pretty obvious, but it's like, you don't get enough orbs on Titan. This is how it should be. This is exactly how it should be. You can't... They should have it so there's no way you can completely get all the red orbs to max out everything on Titan mode, unless... If at every chest you get to, you're already maxed out and you can open those chests, and then they will give you the red orbs. And it should all be proportionate, so that if you get to every chest with health and magic filled out, you'll have exactly enough to or some kind of a reasonable amount so that you can upgrade all your weapons on Titan mode, but you have to earn it. That would be a very good idea. Because how many times have we come across a chest, we're maxed out on health because they refill your health every time, and they only marginally, if ever, refill your magic. So, we're opening all the green chests, but they're not giving us anything but health, and we already have health. It's just redundant. And there needs to be, like, every move, you should be able to buy, like every move, but there should also be a disable on every move. So if you don't want to use a certain move, you should have a disable button on every single move, so you can completely customize what you want.
Maybe we can get it in through the roof.
And there needs to be skippable cutscenes. Like God of War 3. There's no excuse for not being able to skip the cutscenes. We need a full sex scene. That's kind of obvious. Not this walking through a whorehouse just one time. We need, something kind of corny and fun. But, I mean, obviously, it doesn't have to be pornographic. Just something kind of tongue-in-cheek. Oh, this part here, you see? Even if I had died here, I would have been thrown back quite a long way. But it wouldn't have been too bad as what I originally thought of going back, clear across this whole encampment. But yeah, I think Adam Sessler was like one of my biggest people that I hated during the whole game. It's like, and I still wonder to this day, although I'm pretty certain he was playing on the easiest difficulty and he couldn't beat the Trial of Archimedes. And not everybody can do everything, but I don't know, complaining about it and having to give it to a coworker to beat it for him is just, I don't know. He's a game journalist, so he's not expected to be a good player, but I don't know. I've learned a lot since I couldn't beat the Vanquish final boss, and it just every time I think about somebody trying to beat something and they say they can't, a part of me now can empathize, with that, because I'm a firm believer in, not everybody can do everything. It's not this, if you just keep trying harder, you can beat it. No, I don't. That would be kind of unnerving if everybody could do anything.
Get over here. I'm on it.
Like, I can't beat the Vanquish final boss. And don't tell me that I can. I cannot. And I like that. I like that defeat. And I think it makes sense. Here's a kind of bad situation down here. You know, and I will never go back to Vanquish. I'll never play it again because I was vanquished. That's the bottom line. I did not win. I tried to win for a very, very long time, and that's the end of the fucking story. Okay. So when you come down here, the lights, the lighting in this game sometimes does this. It's not an effect that the game's doing to screw you over. It does happen occasionally. I'm not sure what it is. The brightness is up pretty high. Okay, now this guy's going to go back here now. We're going to put him back here so I can completely control the situation. And also the thing is, since I've accepted my limitations on the Vanquish final bosses, I don't want to be able to beat them. You know, I accept that I was vanquished. It's called that for a reason. And it was just draining on my mental health too. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I just don't think everybody can do everything. You know, even if they set their mind to it, even if they're firmly entrenched in trying to do it, and they play for. Even if I played that boss for a year, I don't think I would ever win. And there really is no way of knowing, and you'd have to play your whole life. And who wants to waste their life trying to do it? Not me. I mean, if I can't do it within like a month, I tried it for like a month. That's a long fucking time to try a boss. I'm not talking about a month straight. I'm talking about, like, even when I was doing Guide 3 for Ninja Gaiden 2, I was continually coming back to Vanquish to try to beat it. But it kept killing me to do so. Okay, so we're almost done with this section. We just need to go up the ladder, but I'm just not trusting of this game enough to just quickly go up the ladder.
He knew something. Eisenhower. You think that's why they killed him?
What, are you nuts, man?
They singled
In fact, I think there's 2 ladders. That's why I'm swiveling the camera around over here.
They couldn't let him get back to the base.
Who's they? What's with you and all these conspiracy theories? He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Simple as that.
Okay, we'll do the step jump. And I don't think there's any enemies here, so it doesn't really matter who lifts whom up. But that was some diversion talk right there. You know, I wanted to say what I wanted to say about God of War 4 and everything. So next thing you need to do is pull your partner up and then go up the ladder. Fortunately, we don't have to pull him up, but he's not really a burden, so that's what I like about this game. I really enjoy that. Okay, so once you get up here, you're going to be instructed to hit the propane tank by the plane, which will blow it up. Ali Yosef's lieutenant. If you don't do that, it will fail you, so just watch out for that. And then you're going to have to take out the remainder of the enemies. This spot over here is a little precarious if the guys run across the plank over to you, so just watch out for that. And we have a long way to go still for this chapter, which is... You just have to accept it, I guess, because these are long chapters. Really long. And they will all be... I know... typically what I do is, for the prologue, I put a 0 on it, and I know it doesn't really make any sense, but... I like to have each of my chapters in one single video regardless of how long that particular chapter is. Like, even if it's an hour and 15 minutes, I don't ever like to split it up. And also what I like to do is have it relevant for the chapter. Like, if I put part 1 was the tutorial, then it would confuse people, because when I put 1 on the title card, that's chapter 1. That's all of chapter 1, so it's easy to find it and, you know, see the other ones that are in the playlist. But these two guys here need to be taken. Well, they don't need to be taken out with a synchronized shot, or co-op shot, I guess. I'm gonna have to turn my fan on. Sorry, it's just way too stuffy in here. So as much as I don't like to use grenades in campaigns, I mean, I've rethought about that, I've reassessed it, and I honestly don't care, because I always do that on these kind of games. But I don't like to have a strategy hinge on me using a grenade when somebody might not have one. But just be very liberal with them. Up ahead, I sped up the when you're in the turret, and I also sped up a sniping section, which was taking a long time, an inordinate amount of time. So what's going to happen up here is that the partner will plant the C4 on that building up there. And I didn't know he fell. Okay, he fell. So it was okay. We're back here. The partner will plant the C4 on there, and then you can go on the turret. And I've left the cutscenes in just for a point of reference for everybody. So I think the first cutscene is... I think the first cutscene that you get will be... you'll notice it right away, because the control will be taken from you, and you'll see that the partner... See, he's going on his own right now. And did I speed this up too? I guess I did. But you can't instruct your partner what to do when you're in the turret. Okay, so I guess I sped this up. I said I was going to. So just get on the turret. And there's one sequence towards the end of the next... how does it go? To get the next checkpoint after the next one, you have to do the bullet time revolving shooting gallery kind of thing. And bullet time. So in video, I think it might have been in the tutorial when I was saying I've never perished in one of those. I did perish because I forgot that sometimes you'll have, you know, like the martyrs in the previous video, and in this video there's one guy with a rocket launcher, and he hit us, and we both dropped to the ground, and we couldn't revive ourselves because we were we were surrounded by a swarm of enemies. So I put this in fast forward speed too. And I do pick up a briefcase over there, which gives you extra money. That's the way they do it. They give you bonus objectives for finding things, which is pretty easy to do. And they just credit it to your account. So this is a tough section because there's so much distance between you and the enemies that it's difficult, because there's no... You know, within that distance, there's no cover, so it's hard to get over there. I mean, you can go to the left if you want to, but I prefer to go this way here. Put all the aggro on Salem, and then, you know, get into the translucent form where you're not a focus, and just kind of stealthily walk. I think you can even walk around this tent. Well, maybe not. Maybe not that tent. This tent you can, though. So you see how the character is translucent. That's telling us that Salem has the bulk of the aggro. And I may have had one bullet. Oh, no, I didn't have any. But there is a briefcase over here, and it's the first time that it's in the guide, so I do need to address it. It's right. You'll see it right over here. Was this... Yeah, this has to be the take. Because I only did this one time. There it is. There's a briefcase. You just collect it, and then you'll get a message from headquarters after you've told them what you found, and then they will put the money in your account at the next checkpoint. So it looks like we found all the collectibles for this stage, but they're not just meaningless padding, in as much as they are also money that you get to buy upgrades and weapons. So, okay, so what do I have? I have him in the aggressive hold position, and I'm trying to sneak over here and get some enemies. What I'm going to do is toss a grenade to see if I can get a cluster of these guys killed. How many get killed? I think 2 guys get killed, possibly 3. Probably 2 though. But now the aggro is going on to my side, so I've got to be careful. It's just a trade-off. If you want all the attention on you, you can get the overkill. If you don't want it on you, then you can be more stealthy and go around and manipulate enemies by hiding behind them and going around them. I'm sorry, I've got these sour candies in my mouth that they're just really, really addictive. But what else to talk about? I've really been enjoying and reading Paradise Lost. It's a very difficult book to read. As I mentioned in my previous Ninja Gaiden 2 guide, is that I misplaced my copy of Paradise Lost. It was the Penguin Classics book. But the bad thing about that was, and I know this has no bearing on the game, but I do like to talk about it sometimes. The bad thing about that was that the notations were in the back of the book, so you'd have to have 2 bookmarks at any given time so that you can be on the page that you're reading, and then you can also be in the back of the book where the notes are, which is not an organization method that I like. I like when you're reading that there's annotations on the bottom so that you can quickly consult the annotations that are on the bottom and the notes for further understanding and what some of the allusions mean in that book. So here's a checkpoint here. Oh yeah, this take was me knowing that I just died on the part with the bullet time and not wanting to I just wanted to get to that part so I could redo it really quickly because I was irritated that I had perished. So I was more tentative and I did better the first time, but then I've died and realized that there's no checkpoint, which is, I think personally it's unacceptable and needs a checkpoint, but I don't think it's deserving of a big rant since I did it on my second try. So basically when you're in that mode, you don't have to reload and it has no bearing on how much ammunition you have. So just don't stop shooting at any point because there's no need to reload and you have as much ammo as you possibly want to. It's the same deal with the turret that I mentioned in the previous chapter. How you might as well avail yourself of every possible moment to shoot a bullet. So this is a cutscene which I edited out up here, also because Salem takes too long to get up here. And then here's a sequence. Just look on the damage wheel which direction you're getting hit and move in that way. But the rocket launcher guy was the one I needed to focus on because he was the one that put us down the last time. So here he is right there. He didn't get a chance to fire it off. There's only one rocket launcher guy though, so with him prioritized. I think what happens here is that if you get in if the screen gets into that bleed out color too much, then you kind of separate, fall down, and you have to scramble to cover. But after this, we're still not done with this chapter. But trust me, this is a short chapter compared to the last two. So I fell, and I was just madly shooting everything that I possibly could while I was being dragged to cover. I thought there would be like 5 more guys, but fortunately it was just this guy here. But you see how erratic my aim is because I was desperate, and I thought I would have to do that previous fight all over again. But with that section done, we are going to the green waypoint. So some of the times you might see me, trying to depend on the waypoint a little bit too much, but the thing is, I would never... I don't think except for maybe one situation where I've done a guide and I hadn't already played the game, so you can trust that I know what I'm doing here. Okay, we're on the next checkpoint here. I'm going to turn my fan on real quick. As you guessed it, it's a Saturday night, and I've unfortunately not been able to tune into my program on time, which is something that happens from time to time. If you're wondering what the show is, it's just called At the Opera. It used to be called At Friday Night at the Opera, and it was on Friday nights, but the format changed for the program. The format changed for the whole radio program at the college. That's about an hour, a little over an hour from my house. That's where they broadcast from. So it's kind of unique in that respect. I mean, the dude that's in the booth right now playing this opera, because he does it live, it's like an hour away from me. I think that's cool. And also people in Germany, everybody all around the world, Italy, all the other countries are listening into the program, and I'm one of the closest people to the program. And the program I've been listening to since it might have been the late 1990s, but I don't think so. I think it was it was the early 2000s, and I've been listening to it for a decade, and it's just a great program if you like opera. It's a 4-hour program. I just love the long length of it, but I'm not sure what we're listening to here. Let me see. It's the 12th today. They don't have a very good list of what's going on. I'm sure YouTube's bots could flag it for me and tell me what it is, and then try to have me not get the revenue for this video, and try to sell you the CD on Amazon. That's what they usually do. So I'll have to keep the radio over here a little bit. Those fucking bastards. But I've never had a problem with Content ID since my Bayonetta guide. Speaking of Bayonetta, I think I was talking about that in the previous video. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've had any trouble with YouTube, and I thought I would have a lot of trouble when they unveiled all their changes that they did, but which they relinquished from a little bit and backed off and cooled down because they realized that there's just a lot of public outrage. What the hell is this program? Certain things I don't watch about the program. I don't listen to the opera potpourri, which is the random. What happened? Damn it! Everything goes wrong. Everything's been going wrong today, but I fixed everything. I'm a problem solver. Come on. Yeah, and you guys will probably diss me. Oh, you're a problem solver, huh? You can't even do a problem with borrowing? Mathematics? You know what? Jimmy Crackcorn, and I don't give a fuck. I don't know what this... Put the music station on. Damn it all. What is this? We already listened to it. Dawn. What is this? I need to know what this is. could be. No, it can't be that. It doesn't have the recent one on here. We've already listened to William Tell, Turned Out. But anyway, I'm sorry. Wool gathering there. We're coming up on the last 2 checkpoints. And this video turned out to be over an hour. And I didn't have to fast forward any footage. What I also don't listen to on Sean Bianco's program is any opera that's in English. I don't like to listen to those. I don't speak any other languages in English, but I just don't want to listen to English opera, so I like listening to other languages. So if you want to tune into the program, you're probably not going to receive it unless you live in the area in which I live. And I guess I probably betrayed where I live a little bit by telling you I live an hour away from the studio, but I'll just make it up to you to try to find out where that is. But it's not like that's a big deal anyway. So up ahead we have a very classic situation with a guy behind the turret and all these guys here shooting. Yeah, just go to, if you want to listen to it, it's capradio.org. And you have to be listening to it at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The thing about this guy, and it's kind of relevant to my channel, like I was listening to his channel for about 5, or not his channel, but his radio program. His name is Sean Bianco, and I never knew what he really looked like until I went on the website. And it was one of those things where I was picturing this kind of slender, and a kind of older fellow. And the image that I got was just, this guy is huge. He's got a lisp, and I'm not dissing him whatsoever, but it kind of ruined my impression. I wish I hadn't looked, and that's the same thing with this. Like, if I ever show you my face, you're just gonna wish that you hadn't looked. Not because I'm a monstrosity in human form. It's just that you have an image of me in your mind right now. You want to keep it that way, trust me. There's also a program on Capital Public Radio called Fresh Air, which is, I joked about this with my brother a long time ago. The woman's name is, that does this, I think she's out of Philadelphia. Her name is Terry Gross, and I always thought that she was like quite the opposite, like a very meek, kind of beautiful woman with perfect hair and everything, and not an ugly monster. And then I looked at her on the internet, and oh my god, I like shuddered. Her so ugly, and it ruined it because it's called Fresh Air, and her name is Terry Gross. It's I wish, never look at people, never, when you have them in your mind. It just ruins it. It totally ruins it. I know that sounded really mean, but it's just, it's just a little humor for the audio commentary here. But the irony of that, plus the obvious correlation between her ugliness and her last name. I mean, it doesn't matter what we all look like, because we're all just meat and God's children or whatever. But I don't really talk about religious things on my channel because I'm pretty much agnostic. I just don't know what to believe. I'm undecided. I'm not really sure. But I don't reject God, but I just don't know too much, so I guess I'm agnostic. If you want to start unsubscribing right now, go for it. I don't think that's really reasonable, but do as you like. And the one other reason I don't talk about religion is because it's boring to me. I mean, like, I would like to talk about Paradise Lost in some of these videos, because that, let's just call it a poem, because it is a poem. It's a very long poem in blank verse, meaning that it doesn't rhyme. And I do like to talk about that because it's literature. Watch out for the proximity mine over here. But when I was in British literature class, we were, I think I mentioned this, there's 12 books in Paradise Lost. We only had to read 3, but me being the overachiever I was, and just getting hooked into that book, I read all 12 of the books. And the teacher said I was the brightest pupil he had ever had in his class, because I don't think it was because he thought I was extremely smart or intelligent. I think it was just because he saw a lot of enthusiasm and wanting to understand about the literature and enjoying the literature. I think that goes a long way. You know, I wasn't trying to be a dick rider, to be crass about it, but
You got it, no problem.
you know, a suck up, I guess you'd say. Okay, so here's the heavy guy. We're gonna have a couple of heavies. I would say 3, I believe. And if you're wondering how I took the fall from like literature and English into video games, I don't think it's a bad fall. It's just a different change of interest. But I still like literature. It's just, you know, these games are really fun, and it would just be hard to have a channel about books, even though there are some, but they're just not very popular.
Like this guy. Salem, stop right there. Holding position.
So we're gonna flank this guy now.
We gotta sneak up behind this guy.
And I'm gonna say something here. This game has turned out to be pretty easy, and the reason I'm saying that is because I hope I end up eating my words. That happens sometimes with me, and vice versa. I hate when people say vice versa. It's not vice versa. Look it up in the dictionary. It's vice versa. Same way when a lot of grammar things, but when they put I period E period comma, but they mean for example. IE does not mean for example. It means that is, from the Latin. And it really pisses me off. And it pisses me off when they don't punctuate it correctly. But even more is the meaning of it. If you want to write, for example, in Latin, with the Latin abbreviation, it's E, it's lower E period G, you know, lower G, obviously, period, comma, and then that means for example, comma. I mean, I don't like to be a police when it comes to grammar, but since I know so much about it, it irks me so much when people make mistakes. You know, even just now going next door to check on something of a neighbor, from a neighbor, they have a note on their door that says something along the lines of I can't even remember. It's just kind of a funny little plaque. It was handwritten, but they used "were" when they were trying to write "we are." And the thing is, they probably don't know that. They probably don't know they made a mistake, which is it doesn't mean that they're bad people or they're worse than I am. It just means that it's just kind of funny to observe that kind of thing, because they're good. They're really nice and good people. So quite a few guys up here. This is a pretty good perch to be at. I mean, I'm really thirsty, to be honest. Maybe Sean will tell us what the program is. Oh, come on. When you want to hear him talk, it. There we go.
He came to America, began composing film scores, of course, that he's been recognized ever since as a classic in their own right. In 1938, Korngold was conducting opera in Austria when he was asked by Warner Brothers to return to Hollywood and compose the score for The Adventures of Robin Hood of 1938, starring Errol Flynn. And he won an Academy Award for Best Original Film Score. He was nominated later for The Private Lives of Elizabeth and Essex, 1939, and The Seahawk of 1940, another movie. 1943, Korngold became a naturalized citizen of the United States. The year 1945 became an important turning point in Korngold's life. His father, who had never been entirely comfortable in Los Angeles, who had never approved of his son's decision to focus exclusively on film composition, eventually died.
I'm sorry, I just want to hear what this
Roughly
is.
around the same time, the war in Europe drew to an end, and Korngold himself had grown increasingly disillusioned with Hollywood, which is easy to do if you work there, with the kinds of pictures he was being given. He was eager to return to writing music for the concert hall and stage. He did write a film score for Warner Brothers. One of his last was a movie called Deception with Bette Davis and Claude Rains.
Would you fucking hurry up and tell what that is?
Did a little bit of work after that. After World War II, Korngold continued to write music in rich, chromatic, late romantic style, which had kind of fallen out of fashion at that point, but he stayed true to the way that he was composing his music.
Okay, I think you get a checkpoint here.
Away November
Oh, I missed that check.
And is buried in the Hollywood.
Sorry, I missed that. I keep missing those.
Should you ever go down to Hollywood, you can go visit the grave of Eric Wolfgang Korngold and give him a flower.
Fuck you, Sean. I'm not giving him a flower.
Well, it's called. There's a book that I saw online.
Oh my god.
About Korngold.
This is what I meant in chapter 13 of Ninja Gaiden 2. I'm sick of listening. Just stop talking. I love Sean, but he talks way too much. Just play the music. And I always say fuck him aloud and stuff like that. It's nothing big. I think I might put their little avatars, their little pictures on the screen so you guys could have a laugh. But I actually won some tickets from him back in 2006. And he took so long to send them that I had to call him up and see where they were. Some opera tickets to the theater in the big city. And what was it for? It was a Mozart opera called the one where women are fickle. Which one is that? I can't remember. But that was I think that was what it translates to. All women are fickle. And they are. They really are fickle. Fickle as fuck, man. I also try to stay away from talking about people in my life just to protect them. So, any relationships I have, I just try to avoid talking about it. Wow, I fell down a lot of times over here. I'm sorry if this is not that interesting. I'm trying to just get through this. It's very hot in my room.
Okay, you got it. Shit, Salem, help!
Okay, so I really should get. I'm sorry, I was just sitting there for so long listening for to try to tell us what the opera was. He'll tell it right before he starts playing it again, but I'm tired of trying to listen to it. When I wanted to describe what's happening over here, you've got that heavy duty guy you saw in the cutscene. I think because I fell down in combat so many times on the side of this warehouse that he started retreating. The guy that you saw with that huge gun. So there's also a heavy at the end of the pier by the helicopter tarmac. I think that's what it's called, the tarmac. And he's kind of hard to hit because there's very little opportunity to get at a different angle for him. So I ended up just going right on the tarmac where the helicopter was. Just say what the show is.
A little bit of artistic liberty, I think, or directorial liberty that director was engaging in there in the production I saw, making a tragic opera even more tragic. Recording from 1975, Renee Colo, Carol Neblett, and Benjamin Luxon, the conductor Eric Leinsdorf. Here is the third and final act of tonight's feature opera, Die Tote Stadt, by Eric Wolfgang Korngold.
I have no idea what that means. Yeah, but I've never had any problems with YouTube trying to flag my any audio stuff. So I kind of would like to get to the bottom of this mystery, what he's talking about here in English. Cap Radio. I need to go to their website. It'll have the actual list rather than on my phone. Die Tote Stadt by Korngold. What does that mean? The Dead City. A German opera. I like German opera the best. But my favorite opera is probably Carmen, which isn't German. So, are we on... I'm sorry I got distracted so much. It's just a long ordeal over here. But it's not hard. That should be pretty clear. I mean, even though I keep falling in combat like an idiot. So these videos they're going to have their highs and lows and their fluctuations with how my enthusiasm level is, what I'm trying to talk about, and I think that's natural and fine. So
Thank God, man. You're okay.
So I think we have that heavy duty guy coming up. Yeah, they're okay. No, that guy that I'm aiming at right there, he's just a heavy duty guy. I should have noticed right when I saw that blue reticle that is a hard word for me to say, reticle. But there's two guys here. And this could probably play out differently if you don't fall in combat so many times as I did. But you can take advantage. You could definitely take advantage of the incendiary barrels over here when this guy's moving around them. You'll probably take off half of his life if you hit them while he's near the barrels. Same goes for the guy at the very end of this pier over here. And if you're curious, the next video will be the aircraft carrier. And if I remember, that's a pretty long chapter too. So yeah, this guy, I didn't recognize him. So maybe he's new to the difficulty experience. Salem's almost dead. We need to have him stay put over there. But basically, what I wanted to go into about my channel a little bit more and let you know more about it is that I value people. I value people's enjoyment factor when they're watching these guides. Normally, what I've been doing in the past is I've always stressed the fact that I want you to enjoy the guide. That's always in the description, and I always try to make some fancy way of saying it so that the enjoyment factor is emphasized over all else. But of late, I haven't been writing too detailed of descriptions, and I've also run into a little bit of a snag with the tags on YouTube. I think they're not allowed, unless it's my browser, Firefox. I think what they're doing is they're not allowing you to, when you go into the tab field, and I'm sorry for people who aren't really into YouTube that don't do it, but for people that are, there's probably a lot of them out there who are listening. You can't go into where it says tabs when you edit, or tags. I hope I was saying tags. You can't go into that tags field and press select all anymore like you used to, and I think it's because they're trying to control spamming of tags and force you to manually type in every single tag rather than pasting them into it. But perhaps there is a way to get around that by editing in bulk, but I haven't tried that, so I will try that and see what happens. But when I saw that, I immediately knew what YouTube was doing. They are, with every change to the website, they're throwing functionality out the window. They really are. And I don't understand why people do that. It's the same people that ruin game franchises, like Dead Space ruined, Ninja Gaiden ruined, Resident Evil pretty much ruined, I would say. I mean, I've never even played a Resident Evil game, but from what number 6 looks like an abomination. But I might play The Evil Within. That looks pretty much like kind of like a horror kind of thriller game, psychological thriller. I like those. And what other games have just been abominations in a franchise? I don't know quite that many, but it's probably a lot. So here's the situation here. You see the guys at the end of the pier. This might fluctuate for you. I mean, you might have taken that first heavy-duty guy out way in the distance, and then this guy might not be so far down here. It just kind of depends. You can also get that gun he's wielding too. I think it's called the M134. And I'm not giving my teammate any extra powerful weapons either. I'm just using him to just assist me and things of that nature. You know, to build the aggro on his behalf. And this, I think, took a little bit. Okay, so what happened there? I didn't notice it while I was playing, but he just kind of walked away from it. I've never had any. That's what I was going to go into. We should always at least address that fact. Especially with gun games, how important is conserving your ammo. On this game, it's not very important. Obviously, you don't want to have a lead finger or whatever that expression is. You don't want to be too wasteful, but I very seldom run out of ammo. And also, grenades. They're a big problem in games like Spec Ops: The Line, but in this game I pretty much ignore them. Some of the times on my Contractor campaign, which was my first campaign on the highest difficulty that I could play originally when I just started playing the game. Yeah, this would have been death in Spec Ops: The Line. There's no way you could have survived that in Spec Ops: The Line. Not with a heavy guy. But in this game, you can. Now, obviously, I might not have, but definitely in Spec Ops: The Line you couldn't. So what I was also going to say is that I pretty much ignored the grenades, but there have been times, like I was going to say, where they have knocked me down because they've rebounded off the environment and hit me from a little bit of a distance without damaging me, but knocking me down nonetheless. So we're coming to the close of the video. I hope you enjoyed this video, Chapter 3. We will be moving on to Chapter 4 next. It's called the Aircraft Carrier. I'll see you there.